Okay.
My granddaughters have a bat mitzvah.
Yeah, you mentioned this in
did I?
Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Pittsburgh.
It's very exciting.
It's exciting.
Yes, I'm going actually June 10th.
Oh.
I'm
You going to
coming.
States?
I'm coming back the 17th.
You going
I think
to
this
States?
is- yeah, I'm going
Are
to-
you recruiting?
No,
Is that
no,
just
I'm going to Josh Cohen's wedding
Oh, that's right.
and Shavuos by the Rebbe. I just close out.
That's nice. That's
Nothing
nice
anyone
being there
needs
for
to do.
Shavuot. Shavuot.
Okay, we're on page 421. The Rebbe is now on the fourth level. We did Doimein Sameach Chai Vayidaber in the world. That's pretty partial. It's four different levels of creation. We did it in people. Doimein is Oisius, Sameach is Midas, Chai is Seichel, and Vayidaber is Bittul, the level beyond Seichel.
Bittul.
Yeah.
Okay.
Beyond Seichel. The ability to go beyond Seichel. We talked about that in a Vayidaber.
Yes.
Right? A Vayidaber, Doimein, mitzvahs anashim milumoda, that people do mitzvahs by rote. Sameach, mitzvahs with some midas, but avativis, natural love, which is limited, doesn't move. Meaning the natural inclination of this person is to be chesidic, so then that'll be their expression in their relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. If their natural expression is yira, more discipline, so that'll be the expression of their relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And they'll have a hard time moving from one to the other because they'll be very limited. But Baruch Hashem, there's something there. The third level, chai, seichel. Seichel, through these beinunus, this is Ava, the Rebbe calls this Ava Sichlis, the Ava that comes from his beinunus, from contemplating the greatness of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And that allows for movement, because if I come to the conclusion that at this particular point a certain Aveda is necessary, and that Aveda requires love, so then the expression will be an expression of love. And if that Aveda requires Yira, so then the expression will be an expression of Yira. And the Jew also understands that both of those are necessary. Av and Yira are both necessary elements in our relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And then there's the level of Vayidaber, which again is bittul.
What was Domim again? It was
Domim
that was
doing
Bittul,
mitzvahs
Sonat
by
was
rote.
Midas, Chai was Seichel, and Domim was
Rote.
okay.
Doing mitzvahs by rote. No energy.
Yeah.
Does the same every day. He's there every day. Now, again, we mentioned this when we learned it, but it's important to mention that in this mimer, that level is called Avodah. In many mimer, that level is called not Avodah. It's nothing. Right? So there must be at least a little bit of Kabbalah Zol in that person, in the Doimim. Because Reish is a very Vikara Vishosh is Kabbalah Zol. So there must be a little bit of Kabbalah Zol. Okay. But there's no, Veda is not, nothing's happening. There's no Veda. Well, again, in this mimer it's called the Veda, but it's the lowest level. And then there's the level of Vayidaber, which is Bittul. Then the Rebbe took us to Torah. Now in Torah, the Rebbe does not describe, again we talked about this, but we have to make sure we understand all this. The Torah does not, the mimer does not describe the four levels of Torah. It talks only about the highest level, the level of Vayidaber, and the lowest level. Where's the level of Vayidaber revealed, interesting enough? In Oisius. Because we said relative to us, in us, so the lowest level is Oisius, in us as people. Right? That's our Doimim. What's the lowest level in Torah? Well, what is the Doimim of Torah? What's the basic element of Torah? Oisius. Letters. Torah's made up of letters. Okay. Those are the building blocks. So this is the stones, the bricks. Okay. So, interestingly enough, all the Rebbe is going to explain is that the level of Vayidaber, which is the highest level in Torah, which is the level of Bittul in Torah, and the Rebbe is going to explain what that means. So that is expressed where? Oisius. What did we learn last time? The one thing we've learned so far in our in learning about Torah is that Torah has to be spoken. You have to say the words. The ikar of Torah, you would think, is the deep intellectual appreciation of the ideals of Torah. That's what I would think, right? Sit there and contemplate the greatness of the Kadosh Baruch Hu, contemplate the question in Tosfos, And the answer in Taisus, okay, that's trying to figure out. But what's that all about? In order to be Makayim the mitzvah of Torah, even Torah Shabbal Peh, which is all about Havana Vasoga, which is all about understanding, even that has to be said. I have to say the words. If I don't say the words, so I'm not Makayim the mitzvah. I am Makayim the mitzvah, as we said earlier. Again, this is an important fact in halacha. If I'm reading Torah Shabbal Peh, so that even if I don't, if I read Torah Shabbal Peh, if I say the words, I've been Makayim the mitzvah, even if I don't understand them. If I Tarsh B'chsav, Tarsh B'chsav, if I say the words and I don't understand them, I'm still being Makayim the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. Tarsh Shabbal Peh, it's all about understanding, but I still have to say the words. If I don't say the words, I'm not being Makayim the mitzvah. If I'm just sitting there with my mouth closed, looking at the Gemara, looking at the Maimer, looking at the Sikha, reading Shulchan Aruch, I'm putting interesting information in my head that's going to be useful in my life, but I'm not being Mekayim the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. I might be Mekayim another mitzvah. I'm working on the mitzvah of Avos Hashem. Okay, so I'm looking at this mimer, and I'm thinking about it, and I'm arousing in myself a tremendous desire to connect to a Kadosh Baruch Hu, and I'm beginning to love Him. Okay, so I'm doing a great job in the mitzvah of Avos Hashem. Wonderful, amazing. But I'm not being Mekayim the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. Why? Because I'm not saying it. Might as well do. Even men can do two things at once sometimes.
Do you get credit for this when you're doing this too?
Extra credit. Extra credit for the thumb. Put on some music. You can. But most people gesticulate somehow. When they,
Yeah.
Interesting. Not our Rebbe. If you watch the Rebbe talk, his hands are during a mimer. Of course, the Rebbe's hands were under the table, so we didn't see the hands because they were wrapped up in the handkerchief.
Yeah, that's right.
But Sichos, if you look at the Rebbe's hands, the Rebbe just does not gesticulate when he talks, but his hands are always moving. It's very interesting. He's always going like this when he's talking. And watch. It's just interesting if you watch. His hands are always going like this. But he's not. It's interesting. Rebbe does not just gesticulate when he talks. That doesn't mean it's a terrible thing to do. It's just interesting when you watch the Rebbe. The conservation of movement is quite serious. Also davening. Two hands are on the shtendish. When I see the Rebbe doesn't move a muscle. Talks. The Rebbe's not shaking back. So the middle Rebbe was like that. Okay, so what we learned up until the couple of lines before the fifth line, the period on the fifth line. Yisiyachas ledibur dafka. Talmud Torah is all about dibur, speaking. You have to say it. Now that's very interesting, because what you're doing, you're being mafil the oisius of Torah, which is the lowest level of Torah. But what's that all about? So the Rebbe's going to explain. Now, again, the Rebbe's going to explain relative to Torah only the connection between the highest level and the lowest level. He's not going to talk about the four levels of Torah. So probably the four levels of Torah, meaning that's what we've been talking about. Probably, how does that work out? Based on other Maimarim and then, the basic feel you get from this Maimar, even though the Rebbe doesn't talk about it. Daimim Shabbatar, the Oisius of the Torah. It's pretty simple. The letters of the Torah. And Sameach the Torah is probably learning Torah in order to know what to do. Learning Torah, you have to learn Torah to know what to do. Okay, so that's the Sameach of Torah. The Seichel of Torah is even Torah. Understanding deeper ideas of Torah. And the Medaber of Torah is the Bittul. The level that Torah is that the Torah and God are one. That's probably how you would divide it up. Now, the Alter Rebbe in Shulchan Aruch talks about, in Hilchos Tam terms, it talks about three different levels Hagisa B'Yom V'Layla, Maishir Shir Yasun, and Iyun Torah. So exactly how that would divide in here, I'm not sure. So Maishir Yasun is Semeach. Iyun Torah, that would be Chai, Seichel. Where exactly the Hagisa B'Yom V'Layla? That's the most basic expression of Torah. Now the Rebbe quoted that also. Bottom of the page 420. Okay, so let's start from here. That's where we got up to on Tuesday. Hu lefisha inyan haTorah misyachas ledibur dafka. Dibur meaning speaking. Now, that's obviously going to connect to midaber, which is the highest level, right?
Yeah.
U'lechaora ain't a move. So at first glance, this is not understood. That a Torah hu miloshen hayra. Torah comes from the language of instruction. What does that mean? That's seichel. Hainu shalimud Torah ubishvil leida es ha'maisa sheyasun. Learning Torah is, and this is what we said was probably tzormeach. Right? Again, the Rebbe, it's interesting. The Rebbe does not go through the 4 levels here, but he does mention 4 different levels. There's going to be the Yeshiva Torah. There's going to be this level. Leid es ha'maisa sheyasun, to know the deed that you should do. In other words, know what to do. You have to learn Torah to know how to keep Shabbos and how to daven. And we already learned about Iyun Torah. So then the essential idea of Torah is understanding, knowledge, understanding, comprehension. That's what Torah is about. What is this that Torah is connected dafka to dibur? Why do you have to say the words? Just sit there and contemplate. Contemplate the greatness of God and look very holy with your eyes closed. Every now and then you'll say Om, but other than that, no words will come out. Right? Why not? Now, even when in all fairness, when a person is learning with their mouth, there'll be often times that they'll stop and they'll sit back and think about this idea. Right? They won't say anything. They'll be thinking about it. Now, some people find it easier to think if they talk to themselves, so they'll do that. But that's not necessary to understand the idea. Some people just find it easier to do it that way. My wife always says that she talks to herself because she likes to talk to the smartest person in the room. It's just her picking on me. So. Right? But I know. But no, but it depends. People do it different way. There's some people who sit there. You'll see people and they're learning Gemara. They're like, "Wait a minute, Rava says like that," and they'll talk to themselves about it as if they're talking to a Chavrusa. Okay, some people just sit there quietly and think about it. Okay, but when you're learning the book itself, you have to say the words. You can't just look at the word. You have to say the words. Okay. But the whole idea is to understand. So why Dafka saying? What's the connection to Dibur that everyone wants? Aininu. Dihine. And this is where we're beginning to get to the answer to our questions. Right? We're not going to get it here. We're not even going to get it in the next discussion. But the next discussion, which is, we'll see what that is. No reason to talk about it now. The next discussion will take us to the point where, based on everything we've learned up until now, plus the next thing we're going to try to understand, that will help us understand the answer to our 3 questions. Dine, is Chadshus the Matan Torah? What's the Chiddush of Matan Torah? Why would one even ask that? Of course, the Chiddush of Matan Torah. God gave the Torah. Well, that's not exactly the Chiddush of Matan Torah, because we know that the others kept all the mitzvahs. And we know that people learned Torah before Matan Torah. Rivka was bothered by what was going on in her belly with these battles going on in her stomach when she was pregnant, and she went to Shem. Where was Shem? Shem was in his base medrash, right? Who was he teaching? Well, Yaakov Avinu learned by Shem and Aver. Avram Avinu learned by Shem and Aver. Mastamba Yitzhak also did, unless Yitzhak just learned by Avram. It's not clear. But Yaakov on his way to Haran, when he was told by his mother, "You better leave here because your brother wants to kill you." Right, which Yaakov had an interesting life. So he went to Shem and Aver to learn Torah for 14 years. He was 63 when he left. He was 77 when he got to Haran and got married. Okay. So he said, I learned for 14 years. So Torah was in the world. I don't know exactly what they were learning, but they were learning something to do with the truth. And mitzvahs were in the world. We know that the Avos were Mekayim all the mitzvahs, right? When the Malachim went to Lot, what did he give them to eat? They didn't eat. He gave them matzahs. Why did he give them matzahs? So Rashi says, Chumash, Pesach Chaya. Now, exactly what you do on Pesach before Yetzias Mitzrayim, I'm not sure, right? But if you're Avram Avinu, so you know what to do. And Avram Avinu evidently told Lot. Okay.
But it wasn't brought down.
Well, I assume the others not the Shabbat.
Until Matan Torah, right?
Oh, well, we'll see. Let's see. But that's the question. That's why we have to explain the Chiddush of Matan Torah. Why is there a Chiddush? There was nothing before, and now there's something. That's not true. There was nothing before. It was all there. Mm-hmm. So what happened to Matan Torah? He shenasa kishu deruchnias im gashmis. The Iker Chiddush of Matan Torah is the connection between spiritual reality and physical reality. K'di'isa b'medrash, like the medrash says, a medrash in Shmos Rabbah, discussing the union of Matan Torah. Moshel lemelech. It's a parable to a king. Shegozer va'amar. He decreed and said, B'nei Roimi lo yerdu l'Surya, b'nei Surya lo yalu l'Roimi. The sons of Roimi won't go down to Surya, and the sons of Surya won't go up to Roimi. In other words, those two realities have nothing to do with each other. Never the twain shall meet. The people in Roimi are shaykh to Roimi. The people in Surya are shaykh to Surya. So too, the Medrash continues. Before Matan Torah, El Yonim lo yardu l'tachteinim, v'tachteinim lo yalu lo yonim. The upper realms did not descend down into the lower realms, and the lower realms did not ascend up to the upper realms. In other words, you couldn't imbue kedusha, you couldn't imbue holiness in a physical object.
Wait, I thought Matan Torah was bittul hagzera.
Right, that's before Matan Torah, you couldn't imbue. This is exactly what was being mevatel. What was the reality before Matan Torah? That an object used for a mitzvah had no kedusha. It doesn't mean that you didn't use it for a good thing, but the object wasn't transformed into a davar shebekadusha. Today we can take physical objects and turn them into a davar shebekadusha. As a matter of fact, the piece of paper you're looking at, right? This piece of paper has no kedusha; it can be thrown in the garbage. Your piece of paper can't. Why not? Because a Jew learned from it. It doesn't have Shem Hashem. Right? There's no. If there's a Shem Hashem, then you can't throw it in the garbage. Okay, but there's no Shem. We don't throw this in the garbage, right? But good, right? There's no Shem Hashem on this. So what's the holiness of it? The Torah. Okay, but it's just a picture of the Torah. It's not the Torah. It's just a facsimile of the Torah. Okay, true. How do I elevate it to a state of kedusha? A Jew learns it. What if a Jew never learned it? So then it's not elevated. Just piece of paper with a bunch of black squiggles on it. If a Jew were to learn it, he elevates it to something that has kedusha and should be put in geniza and not put in the garbage. Amazing. I have the ability to completely change the metaphysical reality of an object. Absolutely, that's the whole chiddush of Matan Torah. Right? So the tefillin boxes, not the parchments. Right? Now exactly how they obviously did tefillin. I mean, we know that Yaakov Avinu was mekayim the mitzvah of tefillin by putting stripes on the sheep. Right? So they would do this in spiritual ways that we can't understand, couldn't replicate lefachot. So fine, but he was mekayim the mitzvah of tefillin in an interesting way. But if Yaakov Avinu has a pair of tefillin and he puts on his tefillin every day, and he took the parchments out of those tefillin. The parchments have Shem Hashem, they're holy. Okay, take the parchments out. The tefillin, it's the kedusha. They're holy. Piece of leather. They haven't been elevated at all by virtue of the fact that he was using them for a mitzvah. Which for us is very strange. We just don't understand that. Well, because we live in a post-Matan Torah reality. A post-Matan Torah reality is that Gezerah was bottled, and now the godliness can be imbued in physical reality, and physical reality can be elevated to a state of godliness, and that's the Ikar Chiddush of Matan Torah. And so you and I just take for granted the fact that we can take a cow and turn it into something that's unbelievably holy and can't go into a washroom. Why not? It's a cow. Well, it was a cow. Now it's not a cow. Now it's a davar shebekdusha. Now it's a completely holy object. And if you were to walk into the bathroom, you have to take it off. Not just because of the parchment in there. You wouldn't take the boxes of tefillin into the bathroom either once they've been turned into tefillin. But Matan Torah, bittul gezeira. Matan Torah is the annulling of that gezeira. Shel yenim yerdu mata, that the upper realms descended below. And what does the Medrash say? The Rebbe doesn't bring the whole Medrash here. What does the Medrash say? Kodesh Baruch Hu says, "Vani aschil," and I'll begin. I'll begin the bittul of this. Shenemar v'yedu davai al Har Sinai. Kodesh Baruch Hu descended on Har Sinai. Rashi says like a sheet on a bed. Vayidaber, hine hatachtenim yalu l'mayla, by virtue of the fact. The Rebbe doesn't talk about the source of all this; he just says it. By virtue of the fact that the upper realms have descended down into the lower realms, we have to understand what that means, right? So then the lower realms can be elevated up to a higher level. They can be imbued with kedusha. It doesn't start with the lower realms; start with the upper realms. That's exactly what the Medrash says. Kodesh Baruch Hu says, "Vani aschil," I'll begin. It'll start with the upper realm coming down to the lower realms. Godliness coming into Gashmis. V'hainu shebamatan Torah nasa hakishur the ruchnius. The Rebbe is going to explain this much more, so we can read. V'hainu shebamatan Torah nasa hakishur the ruchnius in Gashmis. Connection of spiritual reality and physical reality, godly reality and physical reality. Shal yedei kiyam mitzvahs, by virtue of performance of mitzvahs, mezachachim esagash. We purify physical reality. We elevate it. We illuminate it. Sphere sa'emer. Right? Make it sapir, heaven sapir, make it shiny, illuminated. And even though Shigam Kaidim Matan Torah, even though before Matan Torah, Kimu Avos Elu and Yonim, the Avos, it's so interesting the way the Rebbe describes this, the language here. It doesn't say Kimu Avos as a mitzvahs. Look what the Rebbe says. Kimu Avos Elu and Yonim, the Avos fulfilled those things, Sha'achrei Matan Torah hem mitzvahs, that after Matan Torah they're called a mitzvah. This is really, very rarely is it said that, but usually said they were Mekayim the mitzvahs. No, it was very medayik here. No, they were Mekayim those things that aren't yet mitzvahs, but after Matan Torah they become a mitzvah. Meaning, what the Rebbe is being very medayik is what do you want to talk about? He wants to talk about the fact that in Matan Torah, the chibur, the connection between physical reality and spiritual reality, godly reality is brought about. Well, what's mitzvah? Mitzvah is miloshin chibur, tzava, tzevet. A tzevet is a crew. So the word mitzvah is miloshin tzavta, chibur, a connection. Oh, so when was that connection most powerfully brought into reality? After Matan Torah. Now that doesn't mean that Avraham Avinu couldn't elevate himself to a higher level of reality by virtue of his contemplation of God and his performance of all these holy acts. He could, but he couldn't affect physical reality. He could affect himself. He couldn't affect physical reality. He couldn't elevate it. It's really quite astounding that we can actually do something that Avinu can't. Don't worry, he's still better. The only reason we can do anything that we do is because he started the whole thing. So that's why you start davening, and the first thing he says, Elokei Avram, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov. The reason I can stand here is because I'm Shayach Daven. Mikol Mokem, Hine, Koydem Matan Torah. Lo nizdakeh Gashmi. Gashmi was not purified, elevated, illuminated. Al Yedei Zeh, by virtue of the mitzvah. The Achrei Matan Torah. And after Matan Torah, Yedei Kiyum mitzvahs, by virtue of the performance of mitzvahs, Mezach Imes Davar Gashmi, we then illuminate and elevate and purify the physical object. The Tamad Davar. Why is this? What happened at Matan Torah? What changed? So a certain level of revelation. The Tamad Davar, the reason for this, the Fisha this light, Shimshicha Avos, that the Avos connected to and drew down into the world, was light that was commensurate to the creations. It was a limited level of godly light. I mean, you put it in simple terms, obviously the more we learn, the more we appreciate how, what these simple terms mean. But the simple terms, there's a level of godly light that's responsible for the existence of the world. That is obviously, so to speak, a limited level of godly light to the extent that it can allow itself to be revealed in finitude. It's called Tzimtzum, it's called Ermamale, the light that fills the world. Okay, so that level of godly light, it's the Eibishter. That level of Elokus is limited to be able to power the world, give vitality to the world, give existence to the world, and vitality to the world. That's the level of godly reality that the obvious were able to reveal. The godliness that's inherent in the world. Right? God is creator. Right? And whenever they talk about the Avram Avinu, so what did Avram Avinu teach everybody? It can't be this thing just happened, right? Someone must have created it. Okay. That's true. Right? But, and we've talked about this many times. If we just think of Kadosh Baruch Hu as a creator, God's the creator of the world. There's absolutely no question. And that itself is really quite astounding because the world's pretty big. Right? But if we think about it more deeply, in Chazal, right? So what do Chazal say? Chazal say that b'machshava achas bara al. One thought God created the world. So now, what does that mean? That means that all in time and space is incorporated and contained within that one thought. So everything that ever was, is, or will be in time and space is in that one thought, because God's beyond time. God doesn't have to think now to make the world exist now. It's a rather silly way of looking at a Kadosh Baruch Hu. He's not some computer hidden away in an apartment in Geula that's somehow the power source of the world. That's just not what the...
That's where the space laser is power.
Right, there you go. Right, so that's why you came to Mayanot, to figure that one out. Okay, so the Eibishter is so amazing, incredible, big, and beyond anything we can imagine, that in one thought, all of what you and I call created existence can exist. It's all in that thought. Okay. So now what does that mean? So that means describing a Kadosh Baruch Hu as the creator of the world is true. But what's the mashal about? It's like describing me as the guy who picked up the cup. That's true. Is it in any way, shape, or form an apt description of me? Well, no. If you're lucky enough not to know anything about me, so then you would say, okay, he's the guy who picked up the cup. That's true. That will identify me in the room. If we all looked exactly the same, we're all wearing exactly the same clothes, so there was no other way of differentiating us. You couldn't tell where we were sitting, your face, I don't know, right? So, wait, which guy was Kaplan? Oh, you remember that guy who picked up the cup in the middle? That was him. Okay, so that's fine. That'll work. But is that in any way, shape, or form an apt description of who I am? No, mapito. My mother's not going to say that I'm the guy who picked up the cup. We don't want to go to what she's going to say, but she won't say that. Right? She'll have more to say. She likes me. She's 100 years old. Like she gave up on anything negative so long ago. She was never negative, but I mean...
She was what?
She gave up on everything negative a long time ago. She's no negativity left. It's Baruch Hashem. How you doing, Mom? Fine. Good. Baruch Hashem. So, describing HaKadosh Baruch Hu as the creator of the world is like describing me as the guy who picked up the cup. It's true. Of course it's true. But there's so much more there. Okay. So what level of Elokus could the obvious reveal in Elam Hazeh? He's the guy who picked up the cup. He created all this. And that level they could reveal. That level they could be mamshik. That level not only could they reveal to themselves, they could teach it to other people and open other people up to that reality. And when you learn about Avram Avinu, whoever talks about Avram Avinu, what was the lesson that he was teaching people? What was his contemplation? How could it possibly be this thing just showed up? It can't be. Right? There must be a Balabais Labirazu, there must be someone who's in charge of this place. Okay, right. That's true. That will take you to much deeper levels of appreciation of what it means that there's this being called God. Because ultimately, Kadosh Baruch Hu, and the level of Kadosh Baruch Hu that's clothed in the Torah and is revealed in the Torah is that level called Atzmus, and that the essence of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. And about that level, Leis Machshava Tfisa Bechlal, no thought can comprehend that. I can comprehend the idea that God created the world. I don't know what it looks like. Okay, say it, but I can understand there's some being who's there and he created the next step. Okay, well, where did he come from? I don't know. Why is he there? To create the world? Yeah. God exists to create you? No. You exist to serve him. He doesn't exist to create you. He doesn't exist because you exist. You exist because he exists. Don't turn him into a little piece of philosophy. Well, I exist, and therefore there must be a source of my existence, so God must exist. Well, okay, that's true, but don't do that to God. He doesn't exist because we exist. He exists because he exists. We exist because he exists. But he also exists because he exists. Where does that come from? Doesn't. Who put him there? Just is. Why is he there? No reason. What's his purpose? There's never a purpose. Well, what does he do? He didn't do anything. I mean, the Seder, he created a world, okay, but that was one thought. So let's not go there and decide that that's what he does. Oh, and now he's sitting at his big computer figuring out what punishments and rewards to give us. We don't believe in that God. Right? There's a lot of people who don't believe in that God. We also don't believe in that God. That doesn't mean that he isn't also the source of what you and I call reward and what you and I call punishment. But it's not like that's what he's busy all day doing. Whatever that means. God is this being that is beyond anything we could possibly imagine. Leis machshava tfisa beichlal. That level of elokus is what's put in the Torah. Not the level of elokus that's responsible for the existence of Casio watches and Nordic 3, whatever. What is this called? Tripod. Right? Okay? Is he the source of that? Of course he's the source of that. Nothing exists without him. But that's, we've learned that the doctor and I, Baruch Hashem, have been through a lot of interesting stuff together. Ultimately, the level of godliness that brings this into being is the most powerful level of infinite godly light imaginable. True. But that light has to undergo a certain process in order that it can be clothed in this mundane physical object and not blow it apart. So the infinite aspect of godliness has to be concealed in order to allow finitude to exist. Okay? Because if I'm experiencing infinite, by definition, I'm not experiencing finite. And if I'm experiencing finite, I'm by definition not experiencing infinite. We're going to learn later, so how can it possibly be that a relatively infinite level of godly reality can give birth to something called, slightly different question. How can something that's beyond creation give birth to something called creation? Okay, we'll figure that out. That's the end of the mind. This is the hard part of the mind. Okay. So the Torah is ultimately going to be a revelation of that incredibly powerful level of transcendent elokus. Right? But here the Rebbe is explaining to us that what they learned Torah, they did mitzvahs. What level? Or shelafi erech hanivroim, the light that's responsible for the existence of created reality, which is elokus. It's the Eibishter. And if I were to see that with my own eyes, I'd fall on the floor. Okay, but there's higher levels of elokus. Lochin, that's called a ha'ara, an array of godliness. It's supposed to be aged himself. Just like you and I. What do we experience? Sunlight. We do not experience the sun. If we experience the sun, we would cease to exist. But we experience sunlight. That sunlight is 93 million miles away from the sun, which is just perfect for us to see things and not burn out our eyeballs, and to walk around feeling warm and not turn into toast. And for white guys, we can get a little tan and start looking a little more like brown guys or black guys, which white guys seem to like to do. There's a whole industry of white people deciding that they don't want to be white, they want to be a little brown, okay? So they sit there, they put on the right cream, and they sit there, and they turn a little brown. Oh, good. Well, because people are start that way. I don't know, so they don't have to do that. They're already tan. White people like to tan themselves. See? They look healthy. They might be, who knows what, completely and totally decrepit inside. I don't mean inside their meat. I mean, just physically they might be in the worst shape possible, but ultimately they look a little healthier when they have some color in their face. That's true. Okay. The white guys. Black guy came to a white guy and said, you guys, I don't understand you guys. I said, well, when you're sick, you turn green, you look green. When you're scared, you look yellow. When you're cold, you sort of turn blue. When you're hot, you get red. Me, when I'm sick, I'm black. When I'm hot, I'm black. I'm cold, I'm black. Wherever, I'm always black. So you have the nerve to call me colored?
That's good.
That's what they used to. Now it's an old joke because no one calls anybody colored anymore, but except Joe Biden. But well, he's still living in the 50s. He's expecting Robert Byrd to come visit him in the White House any day. His Klansman buddy.
It just came to my mind too. Robert Burke.
Some people can't get out of the 50s. Okay, so that's all the godliness that's shaykh to the word. As a result of this level of godly light, that level of godly light can't be drawn into the Gashmi. What does that mean it can't be drawn in? That's the level of light of the Gashmi. But it means it can't be drawn in, it can't change the reality of the Gashmi because it's responsible for the Gashmi of the Gashmi. Why does reality look the way it looks? Because of the level of godly light that's drawn down into the world to give existence and vitality to the world. Okay? So, I reveal the godly source of everything. Absolutely. But I'm revealing the godly source of physical reality. And it's still physical. And physical isn't bad. There's nothing wrong with physical. But it's limited. Physical's not good, and ruchni and spiritual isn't. Physical isn't bad, and spiritual isn't good necessarily. Physical can be used for unbelievably wonderful and incredible things, and ruchni, spiritual, can destroy the world. Vayidaber is spiritual. It's just spirituality of klipa. So when the Rebbe uses the word ruchni and gashmi, he's meaning really godliness and physical reality. Matan Torah, what happened in Matan Torah? What was drawn down in Matan Torah? A level of godly light beyond lefi erech, meaning in accordance with the value, the reality of the nivraim, of the created world. An infinite light, but an infinite light that's so transcendent, and this is why ultimately we're going to say that it's coming from Atzmos, we'll see. An infinite light that's so transcendent, it's not going to be contradicted by finite reality. It's going to be able to elevate finite reality. Because simply infinite light, by definition, can't be revealed in the finite. It's infinite. It's by definition not finite. So there's a sign at the beginning of finite reality that says no entry to infinite. Okay. What's Torah? Torah is the revelation of a level of godly light. We'll see the source of that is Atzmus, which is beyond infinite and beyond finite, so it can be revealed anywhere, right? Ultimately, right? So because the Abishur was taught so many times, in fact, the Abishur is not infinite; it's beyond infinite. It's the source of infinite, the source of finite. Infinite's called Or, finite's called Kli. So that level of Torah that's, so to speak, beyond infinite, beyond Or, I was going to talk about it here in terms of Or, is able to be revealed in the lower realms, and therefore illuminate and elevate the lower realms, and allow the lower realms to transcend their normal, natural, limited reality. As a result of this level of light, that's when you can bring about a zichuk in the Gashmi. It's very similar to what we said about Mimachos Shabbos in the Maimer of Sfir Zayin, a level beyond Shabbos. V'hainu, the b'matan Torah nimshach v'chinas hadibur Torah. Whoa. The dibur of Torah, now this is based on the fact that we realize that Torah has to all be the dibur, but when we say dibur b'Torah, we really mean, in the context of our Maimer, and the Rebbe is going to say it immediately, the medaber of Torah, the level of medaber of Torah, that level that's completely and totally transcendent. That's what was revealed. And we're going to see that's the source of the lamor of it all, right? The Torah nidna b'midbar. The Torah was given in a midbar. What's midbar? We said midbar is a place beyond Adam, a place where Adam can't be. Why? Well, meaning it's the expression of Adam, right? But it's the place where Adam can't be. It's the ability of Adam to get beyond himself. That a person won't dwell there. Meaning, it's not a place of limitation. It's not a place where the limited reality of humanness can be expressed. No. It's a place beyond that. That's the midbar. Shu bilti gvul. It's unlimited. Ushalei lefi erech nivroim, and it's not commensurate to limited created reality. The zeu mashin ischadesh b'matan Torah, and that's what was revealed anew at Matan Torah. Shahare Torah haya lehem gam kodim. Torah was there before. There was Torah. Now the Rebbe is going to talk about the commercial cost of a Telech Lidrish Savaya. She went to seek out Hashem. That's Rivka. V'amar Rizal, what did Chazal say? But base midrash of Shem ve'Aver. She went to the base midrash of Shem and Aver. U'kameichein Amar Rizal. Also Chazal say Avram Zokin v'Yeshiva Yeshiva. Avram was a Zokin and he sat in Yeshiva. Who's Yeshiva? Shem and Aver's Yeshiva. It doesn't say it about Yitzchak. Interesting to know what's with Yitzchak. V'gam lefi hadeis the mashikimu ha'avis kol l'Torah. And also according to those deis that the Avis performed all of the Torah, but that was rak be'eretz Yisrael. That was only in Eretz Yisrael, v'loy b'chul, and not in Chutz La'aretz. That's the sheet of the Ramban, right? And that's why Yaakov could marry two sisters in Chutz La'aretz, and then as soon as he came to Eretz Yisrael, so one of them passed away because he couldn't be married to two sisters in Eretz Yisrael. That's the Ramban's understanding of the whole story of Leah and Rachel, which is very interesting. About Be'inyan Torah. Regarding Torah, even according to the Shittas that say that the Avos only kept the Torah in Eretz Yisrael, and you have to keep it in Chutz La'aretz. Even though, of course, that's a hard Shitta, right? There are other Shittas. Rashi, what? Im Lavan Garti. With Lavan I lived. That's what Yaakov says to Esav when he meets him. What does Rashi on Chumash say that means? This is not esoteric. It's downtown Judaism. Rashi on Chumash. In the book of Genesis, which we're supposed to know, say this. We're all going to make a chlata right now that we're going to pay more attention to the chittas that we learn every day when we learn the aliyah of that day every day and try to remember some of it. That's hard to remember every Rashi, don't worry. I understand. But there are certain Rashis that we should remember. What does Yaakov say to Esav? Im Lavan Garti. With Lavan I lived. And what does Rashi say that means? Garti, Arsias Taryag. Even with Lavan, I kept all Taryag mitzvahs. I kept the 613 mitzvahs. So according to that, obviously he was keeping the mitzvahs in Chutz La'aretz. There's an amazing sikha, the Rebbe. Lefi the Shita that they kept the mitzvahs and chutzlaits. But the mitzvahs and chutzlaits were all a chumrah. They weren't chayiv. It was all a chumrah. So why did Yaakov, say, so the Rebbe, why did Yaakov marry two people? In order not to embarrass Leah. Yaakov wanted to marry Rachel. It was Leah. He could have said, no, I'm frum. I don't marry two sisters. I'm going to marry Rachel. In order not to embarrass Leah, he was over the chumrah that he took upon himself to keep the Torah and married these sisters. Otherwise, he would have to embarrass her. Even according to that position, even that position can't possibly say that there wasn't Torah in chutzlaitz. So tell me, what, before we see it inside, what might be a raya that they were learning Torah in chutzlaitz? Shein Vever is not a raya, they were in Eretz Yisrael. Yaakov could go to them in Eretz Yisrael. Where did we clearly learn Torah in chutzlaitz? In the Torah, in the Bible. When we got to Mitzrayim, what did Yaakov do? What was the first thing Yaakov did? Took one of his sons.
Set up a yeshiva.
He sent Yehuda to Goshen to set up a yeshiva. Well, what were they doing? Because they were learning Torah, right? Where were they? Mitzrayim. So the Rebbe brings that here. But even according to that position that says keeping the Torah was only shaykh to Eretz Yisrael and not chutzlaitz, and what's Eretz Yisrael? Eretz Yisrael is miloshin ratzon, the place where the ratzon of HaKadosh Baruch was more revealed. That's why there are more mitzvahs in Eretz Yisrael. Okay, say there 100%, and therefore the ratzon of HaKadosh Baruch was revealed to the Avos Dafka in Eretz Yisrael. That makes perfect sense. That's fine. That's a legitimate sheet in Torah. It's the Ramban. Okay, that being said, even the Ramban will agree that learning Torah, that they did everywhere. How can you believe? Well, you can't dispute that because it says explicitly that Yehuda went to Geshna, Lahodos, and what's Lahodos? To teach. So Chazal say it means to set up a yeshiva. So that's what the Rebbe says here. It says explicitly in the Torah, that they also learned in Chutzlaitz. How do we know? To teach in front of him in Geshna. So what does Chazal say? V'amar Chazal, and Rashi brings us into in Chumash, l'sakin beis tal, to open up a beis medrash. Hari shegam begolus Mitzrayim shu b'chutzlaretz hayalem gam Torah. Also in chutzlaretz there was Torah. Umau shenischadish matan Torah. So was the chiddush matan Torah shekoydem matan Torah. Before matan Torah hayah bechinus yediya havana v'asoga iyun v'amaka b'Torah. What I was saying, amazing chiddush. Before matan Torah there was the yediya, knowledge, havana, understanding, hasoga, comprehension, iyun, depth, deep learning, amak also learning, but depth in Torah. All of this deep contemplation of the truth of Torah was around. And who was doing it? The others were sitting and learning Torah. And I assume they taught the Shvatim. What was Yaakov teaching his children? He was teaching his children the Persian history. He was teaching his children Torah. So they also knew Torah. But what couldn't they do? They couldn't say the words. So interesting. They couldn't say the words. Right? They couldn't do the dibur of it. Right? Which is the medaber of it. So the dibur of it, which is the oisius, which is the lowest level, is really an expression of the medaber, which is the highest level. So here we see even more clearly from Dak right at the beginning, the first time when the Rebbe went through it in the world, the last line the Rebbe threw out, and the highest level is revealed in the lowest level. And at that point we said we have no clue what the Rebbe just said. We don't know how that works. And in each level it's become clearer and clearer how that works. So in our Vayidaber was the highest level, the level going beyond Tam Vadas, beyond reason, the Mesiras Nefesh of it all. Where's that expressed? Kalis v'chamuras. All the mitzvahs are the same. Down in simple action in Ilam Hazeh, that's a person that does everything with the same energy and the same commitment and the same connection. Okay, fine. So here what? In Torah, what is it? The Medaber. Where is the Medaber of Torah revealed? That level of Elokus that's beyond Nivroim, or Ein Sof, the highest level of godliness that's revealed in the Torah, which the Rebbe is going to talk about. Atzmusa Yisbarach, which is a Nechi, Ana, Nafshi, Kosris, Yavis. I myself am written into it and given in it. I see it's a Nechi, which we saw in the previous Maimer. Also here we'll see it. Where's that revealed? Dafka down here in Ilam Hazeh. How is that revealed? Say the words. Dibur. Oisius. Lowest level imaginable. That they couldn't do. They could contemplate Torah. They couldn't say the words. Sure, Lefiyadach Nivroim. V'inyan zeh misyachis l'dibur daf. Sorry, wait. Sorry. Shekol zeh u'bechinas gvul. All of this, fifth line up. All of this contemplation, that's all an expression of limitation. U'mitzad or zeh yafshar liyas azichuk b'gashmi. They couldn't elevate Gashmis. They could see the holy source of Gashmis. But they couldn't change it into Elokus. Mamish, very similar to what we saw in the previous Maimer about Sfiras Eimer. Where's the koyach for Sfiras Eimer come from? Imachos Shabbos. From the day after Shabbos. What Shabbos? The highest level in time. But it's still time. And it ends. So it can't uproot. Shabbos doesn't turn Yom Rishon into Shabbos. Yom Rishon is Yom Rishon. It's Chol. We're Mavdo ben Kodesh l'Chol after Shabbos. Why? Because Shabbos didn't turn everything into Kodesh. Because Shabbos doesn't have the koyach to turn everything into Kodesh. Because Shabbos is part of the Marechet, the whole system of time. Right? The prisoner can't release himself. Okay. So too the Torah of the others. It's a Torah appreciating the Elokus in Elam Hazeh. In all the worlds. Say that. But it's an Elokus that shaykh to Gvul. Not that the Eibush is limited. Chas v'shalom. The Eibush is not limited. But the Eibush creates limited reality and is the source of limited reality. So that if my relationship with the Eibush is confined to that, so then I'm connected to a state where I'll appreciate the fact that he's the source of everything, but I won't transcend the finite reality of the world. I'll just appreciate the holy source of the finite reality of the world, which is the first step. That's amazing. Now some people never get past that. I don't want to fly the flag, but if you don't learn Chassidus, you don't get past that. Because that's what you talk about all the time. No, seriously, I'm not that no one's better or worse. It's just if Chassidus is what's going to take you to that level where you're talking about levels completely beyond God as creator. Right? Okay. So that opens up whole new horizons. Now Chazal talk about it. That's exactly what Chazal say in the Maimon Chazal about what happened in Matan Torah. Right? It's exactly what they're saying. What, Avram Avinu wasn't holy? Of course Avram Avinu was holy. Avram Avinu didn't understand that God created the world? Of course he understood that God created the world. So what changed? Avram Avinu was not, and this is because HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't give him the tools. We're not better than Avram Avinu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us the ability to change reality by virtue of giving us the Torah. Avram Avinu, so to speak, elevated himself up to the place, the most amazing place a person could possibly get to, so to speak, without Torah. He had Torah, but it was the Torah that he himself was able to reach. He himself was able to open himself up to the Ratzon of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But interesting enough, even Avram Avinu, there is a mitzvah that he didn't do. What's the mitzvah he didn't do? He did it in the end. Very obvious question, if Avram kept all of the Torah, then why didn't he do a bris milah on himself? He kept the whole Torah. He's keeping Shabbos, keeping Pesach. So why didn't he do bris milah? Well, because he wanted one Torah, one mitzvah, to be like the mitzvahs that the children are going to get. Right? So there's all sorts of different explanations. The most basic explanation, in order to give you and I the koyach, since all of our koyach comes from Avram Avinu, to give you and I the koyach to do a mitzvah that is completely transcendent. And interesting enough, that mitzvah, what did it actually do? It transformed that physical object into an object of kedusha. It's the only one. So when Eliezer wanted to take an oath, what was the only object in the whole world that was holy?
The person.
Avram Avinu's bris milah. So what does it say? He held on to Avram Avinu's bris milah and took his oath. Because when you take an oath, what do? You hold on to a davar shebekdusha. What do we hold on to? We hold on to Sefer Torah. There was no Sefer Torah. There was only Avram Avinu's bris milah. Why Avram Avinu's bris milah? Why not something else that Avram Avinu used in the performance of a mitzvah? Because only one mitzvah came from above. And that's imbued with the transcendent nature of Torah and mitzvahs. The one that came from above. There's just I would like to just finish the paragraph. There's 3-4 more lines. I know it's a little late, but I'd like to finish the paragraph.
Mm-hmm.
Shekozer b'chinas gvul mitzad orza. I'm just starting again 5 lines up, and we'll run through the next 7 lines. Ef sharli es zichus b'gashmi. A prisoner can't free himself. Limited godly reality can't elevate godly reality, physical reality beyond its limitation. Limited godly reality. You know what I mean when I say that. Though I'm not a blasphemer. Ubamatan Torah nitin b'chinas adibur the Torah. What's that? Shua or shaloi lefi erachin ivroim. Ve'inyan zeh misyachis ledibur dafka kanal. This is dafka dibur. Shamayla haYeser El Yerina, the highest level, this level of elokus that's revealed in the Torah, that is so powerful that it's not limited in any way, shape, or form. So it can help physical reality go beyond itself and connect to godly reality and become a revealed kli for godly reality. Revealed to the extent, not that I necessarily see the godly light emanating out of the piece of paper, but revealed to the extent that that piece of paper is now obviously different than this piece of paper. And that one can't go to Geniza, it can't go to the garbage, and this one can. Why? Because you learned it. Hamayla Yisrael Yonim is Gala b'dibur davka. V'zeu masha Torah misyacheses l'dibur, and that's why Torah connects to dibur. Dihine ikar inyan mailas of Torah. The ikar inyan of mailas of Torah. Ein ze bechinas havana v'asoga the Torah. It's not the contemplation of Torah. As amazing as that is. Sharei zeh hayagam kaidem matan Torah, but that existed before matan Torah. What's the chiddush of Torah now? That I can say the words, and by saying the words, I'm elevating reality. The Iker Inyan of Torah, who mashanit the Matan Torah, the Iker Inyan is that which was given Matan Torah, and where's that revealed? Dibur the Torah. Wow. The highest level is revealed in the lowest level. Now we're going to see more in this, because the Rebbe is going to ask the question. This is going to be the end of the Maimer, right? We're close, as you can see. Right? Like 3 more pages. So the next question the Rebbe is going to ask is, why does this have to happen through Torah? Because we know, and if we don't know, we'll talk about the fact that there are different ways in which to bring about birur olam, zikuch olam, right? But Torah is a specific birur, as opposed to mitzvahs, as opposed to tefillah, pada b'sholem, right, Doc? Pada b'sholem nafshi, dafka in sholem. What's sholem? Torah. What's the milchama? Davening. The war, that's davening. You can bring about elevation through the battle of tefillah. Or you can bring about elevation in a peaceful way through Torah. You want to elevate a cow? Learn a sugya in Bava Metzia about a cow. About a cow goring a cow. You're sitting in your living room. You're sitting in this room. There's no cows around. Praise be the Lord. Right? And you're learning about cows. And what are you doing? You're elevating the reality of cows. You're turning it into godliness. How do you know? Well, it's on the page in Bava Kama. If you're on the page in Bava Kama, you're elevating it. You're learning a Gemara Sukkah. You're taking wood and turning it into godly stuff. It just looks like a bunch of intellectual stuff. It's elokus. It's the Eibishter Mamish. That's a page of Gemara. It's the Eibishter Mamish. Right? I might be able to see, they say that there's Nigla and Nister in Torah. Revealed Torah, that's Gemara, Halacha, and hidden Torah, that's Panemius, Chassidus, Kabbalah. It's exactly the other way around. There's revealed Torah. What's that? Where's God revealed? You learn Chassidus. It's all about God. You learn, but what's the hidden Torah? The hidden Torah is Gemara. You might forget about God. You could learn a page of Gemara and forget about God. There's no God here. They're just talking about a sukkah. What's that all about? It's all about elevating space. Space is now godly because this sukkah has to be a certain space. And in the first parak in Sukkah, Rashi is going to elevate pi, right, by teaching you how to determine whether or not a round sukkah has enough space in it in order to be a big enough space to be called a sukkah. And what's the formula that Rashi uses? Well, he says, even though it's not exactly this, but you can basically just do the computation based on this times this, and he says you can use 3, you don't really, it's a little more than 3, but you can use 3. 3.14, but why bother, right?
3 and a bit.
Right, 3 and a bit. But Rashi says you can just use 3. Rashi, right? Okay. So pi all of a sudden became part of God. It was always part of God, but now it's part of transcendent God because it's in a Gemara. It's in a Rashi and a Gemara in Sukkah. First parak. You guys are learning the first parak, no?
Yeah. No, I think the round cycles are coming up in 2 or 3 topics.
B'chinas hadibur shebeteish shalchein hine klolos haTorah misyaches l'dibur dafka. Torah is all about dibur. What's Torah all about? Taking the most transcendent level of godly reality and bringing it down into a revealed state in Elam Hazah. That's Torah. How do you do that? Ba 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 ba. Move your mouth, man. Bring it down into Gashmias. Don't sit and have it up there in Elam HaMachshava. No. Down here in Elam HaDibur. How did the Eibishter create the world? Dibur. He spoke. Umitzad or zed dafke afshar liyos biru v'zicha Gashmi. This is what can bring about the rectification of Gashmi. Okay. So we'll go over Sunday morning. We'll go over all that again. Make sure we got that straight. And then the Rebbe's going to ask the question, wait, why dafka Torah? Why not mitzvahs? Why not some other level of avodah? There are other levels of avodah. Meaning Pada B'Shalom. We're going to go into Pada B'Shalom. We're really going to go into the rest of the mimer just to scare you. The rest of the mimer, a good chunk of the rest of the mimer is, don't worry, we'll figure it out. is based on the Rebbe Rashab's mimer in Tafrei Shayin Hey, which is part of the Hemshech of Ayin Beis, explaining how it is that ultimately Atzilus can be brought down into Bria, etc., etc. There's some harder parts of the rest of the mimer, but we'll be okay.